isn't the most important gift I can give to those I love most and to myself is to decide to be fulfilled now, not when something occurs or as soon as the kids are out of the home or as soon as my bank account's fat or as soon as, this owie goes away, whatever it is. If I just decided, you know what, I'm going to be fulfilled now.
Hello, everyone. This is Brian Green, your host at the GM Show. I'm really excited and grateful for another show and have the opportunity to have Lloyd Roberts as one of my guests today. Just by way of introduction and to give a quick bio of Lloyd, Lloyd Roberts has spent his life overcoming adversity. Born with cystic fibrosis and being blind in one eye, he's learned early that growth doesn't come from avoiding struggle, but from moving through it. After surviving a near fatal accident in his youth, Lloyd went on to build a thriving family, a fintech company valued at $1 billion, and now a charitable foundation, Become More, that's focused on increasing fulfillment while reducing poverty in Cambodia. And I think more importantly, and just as important as everything mentioned, he's now on a mission to help people with a purposeful life and to find fulfillment through a company that he founded called G Cubed. And I'm just excited to have you. And Lloyd, thank you for being on the pod, man. How are you doing today?
Great. Well, Brian, great to connect with you and super excited to talk about these topics. And thank you for that kind intro.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot, I could start in a couple of different places, but I think what's really unique about your story, Lloyd, is you were born with, I want to make sure I'm pronouncing it right, cystic fibrosis.
Yes,
And,
sir.
and obviously you were blind in one eye. I think my first question is, can you walk us through maybe what that is? And at a young age, who in your life put you in a position where you could kind of build that confidence and still find like the success that you've had today, despite having that disease and being blind in one eye?
Yeah. Well, thanks for the question. I think that it goes back to the core theology that we have, at least in Western culture, that our objective is to build a beautiful life. And that beautiful life means a life that is free of struggle, right? And if we can only be rich enough, if we only can get married at the right age and get the right partner and have the right number of kids and do what we want for our career, and the list goes on and on. Effectively, we culture often teaches us that the objective is eliminate the struggle. And once we do, then we can finally be fulfilled or finally be happy. And so I really was given a gift at a very young age. Myself and my two siblings were born with cystic fibrosis. And, I'm blind in this eye and I got poor vision in this eye. But, corrective lenses definitely help there. And a number of other things, right? I still have a difficult time reading. I don't like reading in crowds because I'll get stuck on certain words even at this phase of my life. I can memorize all kinds of things and I can memorize whole documents, but reading in public is not my preference. I went down a water slide when I was in the summer between 5th and 6th grade, and the water slide literally ripped my leg off, snapped my foot off, snapped my femur in half. It was dangling by a piece of skin. That's it. Growth plate shattered, right? And there's a number of other things that you could say are struggles that I was required to go through. But the beauty is our greatness actually comes through the overcoming of the struggles and realizing that the goal of this life is not to eliminate the struggle. The goal is to fail forward and to learn and grow through that, right? The goal isn't to create a life that is easy and comfortable. Honestly, that's a pretty boring life. But the objective is to become more like God. It's more like the best version of me. If I'm the same in a decade as I am today, then I've really failed. So rewinding back to my youth, what many would say is, oh my goodness, those things sound difficult. They sound horrible even. They really have become the superpower that I've been given, right? I watched my younger sister pass away from the exact same illness. And my brother and I we're still around here. And so it allowed me to live a life where the medical world was saying, hey, you only have a couple years left. We don't know how much longer you have, but it's probably not appropriate for you to get married. That's not going to be fair to whoever you marry because you're going to leave them a widow. You probably aren't going to be able to have children. Most people with cystic fibrosis, they can't. And my wife and I, we did it in vitro and we had 2 sets of twins. We've been very blessed that way. But if I'd have just followed the counsel of those around me, I'd have said, well, I'm doomed. Well, not appropriate to get married. Well, I'll never have kids. Well, might as well stay on government welfare because these medications that they need to put me on are too expensive, right? So if I go out and get above a certain amount of income, no longer will the government pay for these expensive drugs, and oh, it's going to bankrupt me. If I'd have listened to all of that, then I wouldn't be where I am now, and my mindset would have really struggled. But instead, my parents, they taught us kind of a different way. And they said, hey, you can really, it's not that you can do anything you want to do. I think that maybe is cliche, but you can become whoever you want to become, right? You can change your mindset. You can change your emotional experience. You can change the meaning that you link to the circumstance. And so instead of linking the meaning to the circumstance of, oh, I have cystic fibrosis, I'm going to die early. Look at all these other people with CF and they're all dying. Okay. Instead, I chose to, not even knowing this vernacular, but I chose to link a different meaning to that and said, oh, great. You know what? If I only have a couple years left, I'm going to live like I can do anything. Yeah, let me not wait till I'm 30 or 40 or 50 to do this. Let me pull it forward and do it now. I'm not going to wait to be happy. I'm not going to wait to be fulfilled until I get the thing. I'm going to pull it forward and actually become fulfilled at a younger age. And so really it's ended up being quite the gift for me, right? Quite the perspective adjustment to recognize that our circumstances don't actually dictate our fulfillment. They don't. We all think they do. We link to the circumstance is what creates our thoughts and our focus. And our thoughts and our focus is what creates the emotional experience from the drugs that are being dripped into our body, the dopamine, the serotonin, whatever the feel good and the feel bad drugs are coming from our thoughts and our focus. And then those emotions are creating the experience that we have called our reality. So sometimes some people will say, hey, you should change your reality. You should do this, you should do that, and we should all over ourselves, right? And then we're like, well, great, I know I should be more grateful, I should be happier, but we have no idea what to do about it. And so we just shame ourselves and we feel bad about it, and then we move on. Because the real thing is, we should not shame individuals for the experience that they're having. We should recognize that they're really having that experience and recognize this whole flow of, okay, if this is the experience that I'm having or my loved one's having or you're having, let's recognize that's real. That really is the experience they're having. But let's back off that. Why are they having it? Well, they're having that experience because of the chemicals that are being dripped into their system. Well, why are they having those chemicals dripped into their system? Well, because the body doesn't know the difference between reality and a thought or the focus. And so the thoughts and the focus are creating this emotional experience. Okay, why is the body having that thought and that focus? Because of the circumstance? No, it's because the meaning that is linked to the circumstance. And more often than not, the meaning that is organically linked to the circumstance is actually true. And so we're like, well, I can't change it. It's true. Well, aren't there 100 things that are true about that circumstance? And so why are we linking something that is true, that is causing a reality that is painful, sad, disheartening, discouraging, full of distraught? Okay, well, what if I chose to link a different true meaning to the circumstance? Because what's wrong is always available, but what's right is also available. So at a younger age, I think the real gift that I was given is the capacity to link a different meaning to a situation, to a circumstance, and then have that natural cascading effect of circumstance to meaning, creating the thoughts and focus, creating the emotional through the drip, and creating the actual experience that I'm having, an organic experience.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for providing that context and kind of sharing a little bit about your mindset and how you've gotten to where you are today. I'm sorry that your sister passed away, and it's inspiring to hear how she's influenced you. It's also inspiring to just hear your passion through these circumstances in your life and how you've been able to overcome them. I think my follow-up question to what you just mentioned is, I think you're unique in the sense that you did have this disease and you did have a very serious accident in your life, and maybe not unique, but you had a few things that were stacking up against you. And my question to you is, for the average human being that's lived a comfortable life, and whether you're a leader that's leading an organization or a father or mother that's trying to lead a family, how can a family or how can a person kind of create a framework that gets them in a place like you that really takes thought and overcomes with action and finds success in their life?
Yeah, good question. First, I would say that, yeah, I have had a number of things in my life that are showy when it comes to struggle. But I think the average human has a number of struggles. They just might not be very showy. Might be a breakup that breaks their heart, might be anxiety, might be depression. Some of the people with the biggest struggles are the ones that have a lot of their temporal needs met. And, they're not super poor. They have enough to be able to eat. They got a roof over their head. They have air conditioning. They have Netflix, and they're miserable. So it's not a very showy struggle, but it's an actual massive struggle, right? And they don't know what to do because they feel like a prisoner in their own head, in their own home, because they don't know how to get the shackles off of them. They think, "Yeah, if I was just rich, then I'd be happy. Or I should be married by now and I'm not. So if I was just married, then I'd be happy." It's always, if, then I would. And so I think the average American has some real struggle, maybe not showy struggles, maybe not rip their foot off, or of course I was born blind in this eye, but I went blind in this eye with a corneal ulcer that ate a bacteria ate a hole through my cornea, and it felt like I had a 2x4 in my eye. I mean, honestly, hurt so bad. I was out of commission for 6 solid weeks with no more than 55 minutes sleep at any given time for 6 straight weeks. Being blind was one thing, but that didn't even really concern me. It was the overwhelming amount of physical pain that was occurring. And the eye doctor couldn't do anything about it. He said, "Hey, if we give you some real pain medication, your eye's not going to get the memo to heal." And so it was just enduring. And in this actual struggle is about a week into it, I was going nuts because, no sleep, intense pain, nobody can do anything. My wife wanted to help, my family wanted to help, but what do they do? I got a hole in my eye. What do they do? Right. And so they loved me and the best they could, but they couldn't really stop the pain. And about a week into this, 2 o'clock in the morning, I was going nuts. I was in my theater because it's the darkest room in the home with, dragged a mattress in there. And I was like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I was only like 20 minutes away from my next eye drop. So no point to go to sleep at this point. And I said, I had outlined a TED talk that, and I said, you know what? I need to write a book. And I pulled out my cell phone because I couldn't see. And I just said chapter one. And I literally in that moment started writing what would eventually become the book G Cubed. And chapter one was what was going to be the TED Talk. And it was all about perspective. And I went through these two friends that I had growing up, and one friend that had these immense struggles, and this other friend that had what the world would call great success, and the lessons that I learned from both of these friends. And then kind of the climax of the chapter is the discovery that this is actually the exact same human. And then the climax is that it is me. And it was a whole list of my struggles and a whole list of what the world would call my wins. And to be able to realize, what the heck, this is the same person. The same person had all these incredible struggles, but yet also all of these, romantic and beautiful wins from what the world would say. Yeah, that is the complexity and the beauty of this life that we have. And so that would be the first thing I'd call out, is that we all have struggles. Some are showy struggles and some are hidden struggles. But sometimes the hidden struggles are even more painful than the showy struggles. And then the next thing I'd say is, for many, many years, I grew up in a lower middle class family. My parents always kept food on the table and a roof over our head. And we had 5 boys that would sleep in one room, and it was great. We got a bond. We didn't really understand that our economic position had any disadvantage, right? Because that's just wasn't the mindset that we had. But as the years rolled on, for whatever reason, I felt like there was a puzzle And I needed to be able to put all the pieces of this puzzle together to be able to truly create a great, fulfilled life. And I kind of felt like I understood the framework of this puzzle, but I felt like, there was one big piece right in the middle of the puzzle that had a big dollar sign on it. And that one I was lacking. And if I just had resources, then I could do all the things that I wanted to do. I could not work a job I didn't want to work. I could help people, blah, 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 right? And then my two brothers and I, we started a series of companies and, they didn't really work. Maybe they worked enough to start the next company or roll the profits into the next business, but they surely weren't providing financial freedom for my family. There were, if I rewind 15 years ago, there was a day I drove home. I didn't know if I should buy formula for the twins or diapers because I couldn't buy both. And it's not a good feeling when you're working 80 hours a week and you still can't afford to take care of your family. And so now I fast forward to only 4 years ago, and we sold a small piece of our software company for 100 million cash. And we had the big win, the big check, the big party, the grand opening of the new office, and it was awesome. But it was much like when your favorite sports team wins the big game. You're like high-fiving people and you're like, yeah, this is great. Woo. There's a bunch of organic joy that's happening. We won, excitement, adrenaline, just great stuff. But then if you fast forward a week after your team won the big game and someone says, hey, your team won the big game. And you go, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. It doesn't feel quite the same as it did a week earlier. You're still happy about it. You still like that it occurred, but it's not the same energy, right? And then you fast forward a little bit more. One day I was driving home from work and it hit me. I'm wrong. My puzzle is wrong. That piece that I thought was a big, huge piece in the middle of the fulfillment puzzle, it's not resources. And honestly, it kind of scared me because I'd spent many years working very hard to build a life where my family could be financially free. But it quickly became apparent to me that that wasn't the actual missing piece. And then I got a call from my sister and she's like, hey, Lloyd, how you doing? And I'm like, I'm good. How are you doing? And we talked about whatever for, 5-10 minutes. And then I heard this like beeping in the background. So I stopped her and I'm like, hey, wait a minute, Susie, where are you? And she said, oh, I'm in the hospital again. And I said, hey, you started this call by saying you're doing good. And she goes, oh, I am now. As soon as your fever gets over 105, your body relaxes. And then ended up hanging up the phone with her. And then I had a buddy call. And this buddy was distraught. There was an idea in his mind of something that hadn't even happened yet, but might happen. And it had stealing his peace. And he had from the outside the life that everybody would want, right? The spouse, the kids, the fat bank account, the white picket fence, the home, all this fun stuff. But an idea stole his peace. He was having a horrible time. And then I hung up the phone there, and it really put me on the starting of a journey to say, how interesting. My sister's literally dying, and she did pass, but yet she was in a place of peace. She was fulfilled even in her last hours. And yet my buddy, who had the life that most of us would shoot for, he was miserable. And so it became very clear to me that, you know what, this not only was my formula wrong, but there's something out there that actually has the capacity to drive fulfillment. And I'd love to say that it is specifically the religion that I've chosen to hitch my wagon to. But that's hard to say when I can look at the family or an individual in the pew in front of me and they're miserable. And then the pew behind me and they're completely fulfilled, right? Or you hear someone stand up at the pulpit and they just, share how much of a struggle life is. And they say, but I guess this is the point of life. Life is a test. We got to struggle through it. And the next person gets up and talks about how life is a dance and how beautiful it is. They both hitched their wagon to the same religion, yet one is miserable and one is fulfilled. And I think that we can find miserable people and fulfilled people in a variety of religions, in a variety of pockets on this planet. I know I found fulfilled people in, the remote villages of Cambodia, and they don't even love the Jesus I love. So the concept must be that there is a formula for fulfillment. There's a recipe that's available that some people have figured out that allows them to be fulfilled in the middle of their struggle. They don't have to wait until life isn't hard anymore before they decide to be fulfilled. They have the capacity to be fulfilled as they struggle. So I really went on a journey to try to figure that out. And long story short, what popped out of it is the book and the formula called G cubed, the fulfillment formula. And its objective is to take natural law, bubble it to the surface, and give everyday Americans a formula that of the 1,000 things that they could focus on, all they really need to focus on is 3 Gs: elevating gratitude, elevating growth, elevating giving, and recognizing that this formula is G cubed, not G plus G plus G. It's not the summation, but the multiplication of these 3 Gs. So literally, we provide a mathematical formula that you can go to the App Store and download the app G cubed and fill out a questionnaire, and it will pop out a numeric fulfillment score for you, give you highlights, lowlights, insights, and exactly what to do to elevate your lowest G cubes, your lowest G scores.
Well, I appreciate once again you sharing that, and it's pretty fascinating your story, and I love hearing what you are doing with G cubed and how you got there. I wanna maybe talk about that particular topic now, and maybe ask you how, like, what's your new mission with this, and how does one, I mean, gratitude, growth, and giving, there's a lot there. So maybe we can start with gratitude. What do you recommend if someone doesn't feel fulfilled? How can someone start to change their mindset or look at life in a different way that creates more gratitude in their life? That was clearly the first piece of your puzzle, I think, for a reason. And I'm curious the backstory behind gratitude and how we as human beings can be more grateful for everything we have.
Yeah. Yeah, great question. I think first to understand the framework of this structure. One is our body. Think of your body as your hardware. Hardware is amazing, right? If I grab my cell phone, lift it up, I can look at, oh my gosh, this is an incredible piece of technology. The things that it can do, right? The sleek corners could slip into my pocket, the glass. And this is just incredible amount of technology crammed into what is this hardware. Yet without software, it's nothing but an expensive paperweight. So one, we recognize that we are not our hardware, right? If I hold my phone and, if I drop it, I wouldn't say, oh, I dropped myself. I'd say, oh, I dropped my phone. We recognize that we are the user of this hardware, but it's not me. Yet sometimes we refer to our body as me. Ow, I got hurt. My body got hurt. And so I think that's step number one. Recognize that you are not your hardware. A lot of Americans realize that they aren't their body. But the second one's more interesting. It's your software. The combination of hardware and software can create some incredible things. You can click to buy, you can watch this podcast, there's all kinds of incredible things that you can do when you combine amazing hardware with amazing software. Well, that software is your mind, your conscious, your unconscious mind, all the things that can be done there. It is truly amazing. Yet many of us get caught up and we think that we are. How could I do that again? I can't believe myself. I'm so weak. How could I do this? How could I think that? Not recognizing that it was never your mind, it was never your software's job to make you happy. Never. It was his job to keep you alive, to keep you safe, fight or flight, forage, whatever it is to keep you alive. And you know what? Your body and the combination of your body and your mind, your hardware and software, it does a pretty good job at keeping you alive most of the time. But just recognize it never was your body or your mind's job to create a fulfilled life. And so if we're not our body and we're not our mind, who are we? Well, you can call it a variety of things. Your spirit, your soul, your essence. I like to refer it to as my I am. And to recognize I am the user, my body and my mind are here to serve me or to serve a specific purpose. And to recognize if I just go on default autopilot, they will go do what is they're wired to do to keep me safe in the short term, to keep me alive. But it's actually my soul's job to create a fulfilled life. And if I just say, oh, I'm on autopilot, my body, my mind, when it comes to a circumstance, a situation, if it considers a situation to be not very important, my unconscious mind will kick in and will link a meaning to that circumstance. If it's not very important, when I go to bed at night, I'll probably dump it from my memory, and it's no harm, no foul, right? But if my conscious mind considers it to be important or urgent, it will kick in and it will link a meaning to the circumstance. So when you recognize that, the real power is to say, well, hold on, this hardware, this software, it's here to serve me. And sometimes it does a very good job. But in the fulfillment category, it usually doesn't do a very good job. So I, as the user, have the capacity to step in and make some tweaks, some edits to the code. I'm in the software business, but I'm not a programmer. But you can actually go into the software and you can tweak little pieces of the code, and it's going to create a different outcome. And you don't need to be a programmer to do so, because you just look at the outcome. If you like the outcome, sweet, we're good to go, right? If you don't like the outcome, okay, go in and start tweaking the code. So with that framework, to recognize that we are not our hardware, we're not even our software. We are our essence. We are our souls. We're our spirits. We're our I am. We are the user. And if they're doing a good job serving us, thank you, body. Thank you, mind. If they're not doing a good job serving us, instead of going, this sucks, my life's horrible, I can't believe this, my circumstances are the worst, we say, interesting. My soul chooses to step in and make a cognizant choice to link a different meaning to the circumstance so that my reality changes. And if I like how it changed by that code adjustment, great. If I don't like how it changed, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to tweak the code. I'm going to link a different meaning to the circumstance again, and then see if it kicks out the actual experience, the reality that I'm having. So in this case, when you're looking at it, you're saying, boy, how do I create a fulfilled life? There has to be a formula. Great. My pitch to you today is that there is. And it's simply 3 parts. The first G, as you've teed up, is gratitude. The problem with gratitude is we experience organic gratitude just enough that we think the objective of life is to put ourselves in a circumstance that's going to create more organic gratitude. Right? So that's why you go to that favorite sports game and you have your loved ones around you or your best buddy or whatever, and you're just betting and hoping that that amazing play will happen in double overtime so that you can do the high fives and jump up and down and feel all of that energy, all that positive organic gratitude. But the interesting thing is it doesn't come very often. And so we're just like waiting around, just waiting for this organic gratitude to come to us. And then we do certain things. I should be more grateful. Let me fill out a gratitude journal. Let me do this or that. But yet our minds know what is organic and what is not. And so it doesn't really work very much. Maybe a little, maybe just a teeny bit, but it doesn't work that often. So my pitch to you is, even though gratitude is the first G, don't actually choose to be grateful. That's not the hack. I should be grateful. Oh, I am grateful. When does that work? Oh, I'm grateful right now. We verbalize that it should work, but if you're honest with yourself, it doesn't really work. But here's the hack. Don't choose to be grateful. Instead, root out the inverse of gratitude, which most don't even recognize what the inverse of gratitude is, because we are told as a culture to fight for this inverse. Hold it tight to our chest and make sure nobody steals it because it's ours. And what is the inverse of gratitude? Entitlement. It's entitlement. And yet, most of the time we get up in the day and we gather our entitlements close to our chest and we walk throughout our day looking to see if anybody's going to try to steal our entitlements. And we give them the eye like, I will fight you. You will not touch my entitlement. And then we get home at the end of the day and most likely nobody ever even touched our entitlement. And we feel as good as if somebody didn't steal your wallet. Great. Yeah, of course. It's mine. Nobody can steal it. It's mine. They can't touch it. Right. And you don't really feel that good at the end of the day when somebody didn't steal your wallet because you expected for no one to steal your wallet. So the hack is to say, you know what? Brian, I'm entitled to nothing. Nothing. I'm not entitled to a spouse. I'm not entitled to eat today. I'm not entitled to comfortable weather. I'm not entitled to money in my bank account, a hug from my child, nothing, literally nothing, not the air in my lungs or the blood in my veins. And when you choose on purpose to not be entitled to anything, you're free. Literally free. And now when you wake up on a Monday morning, instead of, oh, I can't believe it's Monday, I can't wait till Friday, now you say, oh my gosh, I'm alive. I woke up today. I got blood in my veins and air in my lungs. I can do anything today. This is incredible. I didn't die. right? There's a podcaster that walked around New York and he interviewed 100 people and asked a variety of questions. And as you can guess, in the New York crowd, relatively difficult crowd, not super friendly, but he asked 100 people a variety of questions, but all the same questions. And one of the questions that he asked was, what would it mean to you if somebody deposited $10 million into your bank account today? And as you can imagine, they went, oh my goodness, it would mean everything. I could quit this job I hate and da 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 da. Oh, it would change my world. Oh, all these amazing things. And then his follow up to all of them was the exact same question. And it was, would you rather have $10 million or wake up tomorrow? Think of it for a minute, because that's literally just a perspective change. And as you can imagine, almost all of them said, oh, yeah, I'd rather wake up tomorrow. Yet $10 million was going to change their life in incredible ways and allow them to finally live their dreams. Yet waking up tomorrow, something we rarely give any glory, is more valuable. And so it's this concept of, if I want to be grateful, don't decide to be grateful. Leave that alone. Instead, root out the inverse of gratitude. And it works like a negative vacuum. As you suck out the entitlement and have every nook and cranny inside of your body, like a negative vacuum, gratitude will fill every crevice you have. And you won't have to decide to be grateful, because you'll organically become and feel grateful. And you'll be like, oh my goodness, this is incredible. And you'll find things that before melted into the background, you'll find that they're brought to the forefront of your mind, and you'll be like, this is incredible. What about this? What about this? And your energy will become electric. It'll become something that others want to be around. Effectively, you become attractive because your energy, you've let go of entitlement, and organic gratitude has filled in all the gaps.
I love the concept of organic gratitude, and I love the concept of removing entitlement. There's a lot that can be said there, and I think learned there. I think what really stood out to me was the way that you described your soul or your spirit, which is I am. And I would ask, who is Lloyd Roberts? Who are you? And what how would you describe your I am? And what are you most excited about? I mean, you've obviously accomplished a lot in your life, both personally, professionally. But like, who are you? And what are you most excited about in these next couple days and weeks and months of your life and years?
Yeah, well, thanks for the question. I would say that I'm a spiritual being having a physical experience. And because of that, I can greatly influence the physical experience that I have. And it's, once again, it comes from the concept of, from many, many years ago, the medical professionals telling me, you don't have much time left. You don't have much time left. And I had two options: wither away or say, okay, great, I'm going to make the best of this that I possibly can. Right. And to answer the second side of your question, imagine for a moment, and I've done this many times, that I am actually on my deathbed. You are on your deathbed, right? And you have the blessing and the curse of not dying in an instant and, some terrible accident, but you're laying in the hospital or you're laying at home, and you're able to have your favorites around you, whoever they are: parents, spouse, children, bestie, whoever they are. And select one person in your mind that you can hold hands with as you slip from this life to the next. And in that moment, what is it that you actually want for this person that you love so much? Is it the things that the world tells you that you should want for yourself? To win gold in the Olympics, to build $1 billion company, to have the most attractive face or the biggest biceps or skinniest waist or fattest bank account? The list goes on and on. And if your experience is anything like mine, that's not actually what you want for this special person of yours. And let me try to put it in words of what I want for this special person of mine. I want her to have the capacity to struggle well. I want her fulfillment in life not to be dictated by her circumstances. That doesn't mean that I don't want beautiful circumstances to come her way, but even more importantly, if difficult circumstance after difficult circumstance pile on her after my passing, if she has the capacity to struggle well in the midst of difficult circumstances and still have high levels of gratitude, growth, and giving, therefore high levels of fulfillment, I know that she's going to be okay no matter what comes her way. So that's really what I want for my special person after my passing. Is that not what my special person would want for me? Is that not what I should want for myself? Isn't the most important gift I can give to those I love most and to myself is to decide to be fulfilled now, not when something occurs or as soon as the kids are out of the home or as soon as my bank account's fat or as soon as, this owie goes away, whatever it is. If I just decided, you know what, I'm going to be fulfilled now. I make the cognizant choice to be fulfilled now. And we do that by saying, choose gratitude to root out entitlement. I choose growth, and we can get into what that means. And I choose to give. And that's all I have to do. And then recognize whatever you want to call it. I don't care if you're Hindu, Buddhist, Muslim, Christian, one of the Christian denominations that loves Jesus. I don't really care. Choose that there's a higher power that loves you, that this higher power's objective for you never was if you're obedient, you'll have a life that's easy and comfortable. Sorry, look at all of the scriptures. It's not there. You can avoid some struggles by not having a teenage pregnancy or not drinking and driving and so on, but you're not going to eliminate the struggle. You're going to avoid some. You can't get rid of the struggle, right? So instead, what if we said, hey, when difficult things come our way, I'm just going to be curious. Hey, God, I wonder what this is because I recognize your objective for me is not an easy life. Your objective for me is that I become more like you. I become a better version of myself. I'm so curious on how this circumstance is going to allow me to become more like you. You're now free. It really does free you up. And so you're left with three choices. How do I elevate my gratitude? And we've just gone over that. And then how do I elevate my growth? And how do I elevate my giving? And then do I do this all on my own or do I yoke myself with the creator and do it together?
So, a question that I have, and something that maybe I have felt personally, is I do have a lot of ambition and I want to grow as a human being. But oftentimes, like, I'll check off a goal and I don't just marinate in that particular goal and I don't like have this sense of gratitude. It's just like, okay, now on to the next, now on to the next. And so, like, there's almost this like give and pull with be grateful for what you have, but also continue to grow and develop and to build new skill sets. And so, how do you think about removing entitlement and being grateful, but also having ambition? Or how do you define growth? Because oftentimes, I think my belief is that oftentimes people aren't happy because they do just want to they just want to like continue to grow, 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 and they don't just take a step back and be like, holy smokes, like, look what I have, right? And so I'm curious, like, how does one kinda navigate those
Yeah.
2 things?
Oh, it's a beautiful question, especially because a lot of people think that we should be grateful for the things we have. So with that reasoning, the more things we have, the more grateful we should be. And the truth is that the pursuit of stuff does not create gratitude, right? And yet we often think that it does. So if we just had more, we'd have more to be grateful for. Therefore, by default, we would have more gratitude. And it's truly the opposite. It's the realization that we're entitled to nothing that creates that organic gratitude. Yet the fair argument is, well, wait a minute. If I master be entitled to nothing, how does that play with growth? Because now I can just meditate all day on a beach and be like, oh, I'm completely grateful organically, right? Okay, but that is true in the category of gratitude. But someone can live a grateful life and still not be completely fulfilled if they leave out the other two G's. The second G is growth. And as you hit on, what is the actual definition of growth? Because we all know what's preached from a variety of pulpits on the topic of growth. Push, make it happen, get up earlier, fight, sacrifice, and you know what? That's a very important part of it. But I want you to picture this hamster wheel of growth in a different way. Because while anyone can say, yeah, I'm going to grow more, I'm going to push, I'm going to fight, I'm going to sacrifice more, we all know as well, if we're going to hop on the hamster wheel and there's no end and we just have to run, 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 at some point, we're going to burn out. We're going to burn out and we're going to fall off the hamster wheel and it's not going to feel very good. And so if you view it like that, it's hard to hop on the hamster wheel because you know it's not going to end well. So what I want everybody to do is picture growth's definition differently. And instead, let's picture an 8 in your mind. Let's push it over so it looks like an infinity sign. We have two wheels effectively connected. So like a racetrack where you go back and forth between these two wheels. And the first hump, the first circle, that is become. That is what most people would say of push, make it happen, fight, get up early, sacrifice, what most people would call growth. But to me, that is the become side of the equation. When the second circle, I'll give my wife credit for leaning into this one, is a different focus. The combination of become and the second circle is what is growth. And it's the iterative process of moving between become and be still. Become and be still. Now, you can move through these fast, you can move through them slow, but you iterate between become and be still. Now, the word for be still, be present. Right? So push, make it happen, and then be present. That's different than sitting on the pot with your cell phone scrolling away. That's not the presence. I'm not talking about relaxing media brain. I'm talking about choosing to be present, having a conversation with a loved one and think about what they're saying and look into their eyes instead of thinking about what you're going to say next, right? And as you iterate between become, be still, become, be still, become, be still. This creates the growth that we actually crave by rotating between what most would call growth or pushing and making it happen, sacrifice, dedication, presence, or choosing to be still for a period of time, reflect, and then move back into the traditional growth or the sacrifice or the hard work, but then come back to the presence. Most people rotate between push it, make it happen, and then go to sleep or watch a movie, and they're not rotating into the being still or the being present. The magic occurs as you rotate between become and be still.
I love that. I appreciate that analogy, and I love the become and be still. I think with interest of time and where this conversation has gone, where are you trying to become still in life right now? Is my first last question, and then my last. So where do you want to be still at? Like where are you trying to develop or just be now in your life? And if you were to pass away tomorrow, what would you want to be remembered as? Because I get the sense that you're way bigger than business. I mean, it's obviously blessed you and it's put you in a position to do a lot of cool things, but like, where do you want to be still? And what do you hope people remember you as in your legacy and being still and becoming?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. First, the categories I'm focusing on being president is putting my cell phone away and having that one-on-one time with my children and having that one-on-one time with my wife and not having them be we talk about in the giving category, not that have it be a business transaction. I'll do this for you and I want this in return, right? A lot of people call that giving, but that's not. It's a business transaction. Just truly being present and listening. And you know what? It's not as much about quantity of time as it is about quality of time. That's where I'm focusing right now on having quality presence with those in my inner circle, those that are closest to me, and letting them appear into my heart and my soul and feel like I really see them for who they are, that I love them unconditionally, that they don't need to check these 7 boxes to get more love from me, that my love is unconditional for them, just as I believe God's love for us is unconditional. And when it comes to how I would want to be remembered, I would want to be remembered for one that chose to apply the principles in my life of fulfillment, that I didn't need amazing circumstances to be fulfilled. And I would love for my children, every time they learn this and I hear them share it and I see them live it, that's what brings a smile to my heart, that they don't need amazing circumstances to be fulfilled, that they can live a truly happy, a truly fulfilled life by choosing the meaning that they link to the circumstance. And by leaning into, of the hundreds of things they could lean into, honesty, hardworking, all the amazing attributes, they just need to lean into gratitude, growth, giving, and recognizing God. And they will have created a fulfilled life for them and for those they love most.
Well, I thank you, Lloyd. I've definitely been inspired, and I appreciate your insight and how you think about life. And I really like just everything that you said. I think for any of my or our listeners that might have this sense of not being fulfilled and they want to maybe dip in or test or try out G3, what's the best way for them to build a relationship with your company or be coached by yourself or kind of just start their journey to like get access to all this wealth of knowledge and experience?
Yeah, well, thank you. Well, we do all of this through Become More, our 501(c)(3 public charity. So we're adopting villages in the remote areas of Cambodia. We've done 4 of those, and we're also promoting fulfillment for Americans. Effectively, you can be fulfilled now. The question is how, and how can we help you become more fulfilled? And there's a variety of ways. One, I wrote a book on the topic. You can find it on Amazon or where any good books are sold, including Audible. So that's available there. In addition, we just launched the G Cubed app based. All of it goes to Become More. It's under $10 a month. It'll give you the fulfillment formula, pop out your numeric fulfillment score after taking a quiz. There's all kinds of training videos, and there's an AI that you can have conversations with that will help you elevate your fulfillment, all baked into this app that's less than $10 a month. And in addition to that, we're holding couples retreats. These are fulfillment retreats for couples. So I should word it that way, but it's allowing couples to recognize that their partner's not responsible for their fulfillment, but they are. And we teach them exactly how to not only take responsibility for their own fulfillment, but actually receive more fulfillment in their life. So we do those on the North Shore of Oahu. These are for couples. We also do some for families, and we've done them for corporations before. And then we also do them here in Utah. So if you're interested in doing either a couple retreat on the North Shore or a weekend retreat here more locally in the Utah area, reach out. You can go to gcubeformula.com, and I have a president of G Cubed. His name's Todd Jorgensen. He can help you out and see what's right for you and your family, your company. We do a lot of keynotes as well to help organizations that care about their team members and recognize that culture is not just ping pong tables and free lunch Friday, but it's helping their team members become more fulfilled. And we are bringing tools, not just to families and couples, but to corporations to help their team members become more fulfilled.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day, Lloyd, and I hope the best for you, and we'll stay in touch, man. Thank you so much.
Brian, thank you so much. Great meeting you. Thanks for this time today.
Thank you. Hey, everyone. I just wanted to say thank you for listening to the GM show. There's so many takeaways from this conversation, and I hope that you were inspired and learned something new today. Thank you for listening to my podcast. I hope that you can subscribe and get a lot of value from this particular podcast. I really appreciate the support, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you. This is your host, Brian Green.